So I'm going to go ahead to the poll for January. So for January, um, the poll that I did it is asking about specific habits, okay, that we have as it relates to practicing peace at work. So the poll reads, "Hey sis, which habit has made the biggest difference in protecting your peace at work?" And this particular poll was related to the video I released titled "Choosing Rest and Reclaiming Peace: A Wellness Renaissance for Women, for Black women, excuse me." And I will link the description in the I will link that video in the description box. So let me go over the options and then I'll tell you what the results were. So again, that poll question read, "Hey sis, which habit has made the biggest difference in protecting your peace at work?" The polls were, I mean, excuse me, the options were journaling or reflection. There were four options, and the first one was journaling or reflection, limiting social media and exposure, surrounding yourself with uplifting people, and taking intentional rest. Again, the options were journaling or reflection, limiting social media exposure, surrounding yourself with uplifting people, and taking intentional rest. So there was a two-way tie of 17% of those who responded said that they do journaling and reflection and limiting social media exposure as a way as a thing that has made the biggest difference in helping them to protect their peace at work. It was a two-way tie of 17%. None of the individuals selected surrounding yourself with uplifting people. There's no right or wrong answer, but I'm pretty surprised that nobody selected that one. But maybe it's because it has to do with where I'm asking that your peace, it says protecting your peace at work. So maybe that's the reason. 67% who responded to this poll said taking intentional rest. 67%. And that's funny because I will be talking about rest in a later segment. So, people have to protect their peace. Again, this poll was related to my video titled "Choosing Rest and Reclaiming Peace: A Wellness Renaissance for Black Women." I will link the video in the description box of this particular live. Okay. So, speaking of rest, you may have noticed I did not upload much content for January, and I'll get into that in a second. Let me check the chat to see if I'm missing anything. Oh, okay. Hi, mom. My mom said she had some issues getting on. Oh, okay. All right. Well, my mom's glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I was just going over the channel milestones and the polls. So hopefully you will be able to stay on. Okay. So let me get into the next part of our live, which is rest and recreation. I'll talk briefly about that. So I can truly say that during the month of January, I got my rest and I got my rest recreation on. I really, really did. That's why you didn't see much posting. Um, I actually went on a cruise in January, the first cruise I had ever been on. And before I go there, first I want to shout out my cousins, Nina, Renee, and Anna, as well as my mommy, my mom. I don't call her mommy, I call her mama. My mama and daddy, as well as my oldest daughter, for making the cruise possible for me. It was my very first cruise. My cousins, there's three of them, they're sisters, and I. We went on a 7-day cruise to Mexico. We went to Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, and Cabo San Lucas. We had an amazing, amazing time. The food was good. The company was good. Now, the person, and we did do some line dancing, my cousin Anna and I, and the person that was teaching the wobble, he needs to be replaced. He had the pole folks, and you know who I mean, the pole folks all confused. My cousin and I, we just looked straight ahead. She said, Colette, just look up, don't look at the stage. We just did what we needed to do. But how you gonna mess up the wobble? Okay, you need to get somebody else. But other than that, the cruise was a 10 out of 10. I would recommend. And I may post some pics in the community post. I've already posted quite a few, and I'm still not posting. I'm still not finished posting to my private Instagram. I may do a few to my public Instagram. I'll see. I do plan to make a short video on my first cruise. We'll see, if I get to that. Anyway, thank you, family, for making my first cruise possible. I love you all. I had a great time. Thank you, cousins, for investing in me, and I can't wait till our next cruise. I had an amazing, 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 amazing time. Okay, so let me check the comments, see how we doing there. Okay, all righty. So let's get into our next segment. In this next segment, I want to, oh, excuse me, before we get into the next segment, I want to, where I will discuss the benefits of rest and recreation. I do want to remind you of another monetary way to help support the channel. And I think I talked about it. I talked about hyping the video. Okay. So when you get that on your mobile phones, you get a chance to hype the video, please do so. It really, really helps the numbers. So now I talked earlier about resting and taking a cruise in January. Now let's talk about the benefits of rest and recreation. Okay. So let's take a breath together before we begin. Maybe another one. I don't know about you, but it helped me. I felt like I was kind of rushing through this video because I was running a little late. So it kind of helped me to slow down a little bit. So I want to talk to you today about rest. Okay. Not the kind that we squeeze in when everything else is done, and not the kind that we feel we have to earn, but real rest. The kind that restores you, that steadies you, and reminds you that you are human before you are helpful. Let me say that again for the people in the back. You are human before you are helpful. So many of us were reared to believe that rest is something you get after you have proven yourself, after you finish your work, after you take care of everyone else, after you show up strong and capable, dependable, and unbreakable. And for Black women, especially, that belief has been reinforced for generations. But we are in a different season. We are in what I lovingly refer to, and it's known as the Black women rest era. To those of you who have been rolling with me for a while, you've heard me talk about the Black woman rest era before. Now, this era is not about quitting life or giving up responsibility. It's about taking the cape off. We talked about the cape. I have a cape. Where's that cape at? I might show it to you. I can find it. I have a cape over there somewhere, but it's about taking it off. And I'm going to say it's about keeping it off. It's about choosing sustainability over sacrifice. Many of us are operating in lack, depletion, just pure tiredness because we are sacrificing so much. Okay. It's about understanding that rest is not a reward. And you've heard this over and over again. Rest is resistance. There's a book called Rest is Resistance. I forgot the name of the author. Maybe somebody could put it in the chat for me. Okay. It's about understanding that rest is a requirement. We are required to rest. Even the Bible tells us to rest on the seventh day. Okay. So here's something that matters. Stress is not rare. It is common. Many people report feeling high levels of stress, and a large number say it directly impacts their mental health. And when stress is left unchecked for long periods of time, it does not just stay in the mind. And we know that Black women carry a lot of stress, right? We've seen the studies that stress causes large cortisol levels, right? Which helps, contributes to, gaining weight and a bunch of other stuff, right? So we know that it doesn't stay in the mind. It shows up in our body, okay? We get headaches, digestive issues, trouble concentrating, mood swings, all of those things can be attributed to stress, anxiety, depression, exhaustion that sleep alone cannot fix. Because sleep is physical, right? Sleep is a physical thing that we experience. And so when we're talking about resting, we're talking about more than resting physically. We're talking about resting our soul, which, is our mind. We're talking about resting our spirit, resting our body. And these things, as I mentioned earlier, the rest part is a requirement. It is not an option. Okay. And that is why rest matters. Not someday, not eventually, but it matters daily. Rest supports mental clarity, emotional balance, and physical health. It improves concentration and memory. It helps to regulate our moods. It strengthens the immune system. That's why a lot of times when you are stressed out and you get sick, you're sick longer. Why? Because your immune system has already been overtaxed because it's stressed out. Okay. It supports heart health and metabolism. And we talked about those cortisol levels. Rest is not a soft habit, it is a powerful one. Now, I want to slow this down and clarify something that often gets mixed together. How many of you think rest and sleep are the same thing? If you think it's the same thing, say yes in the chat. If you don't think it's the same thing, say no. Let's see what answers we get. Do you think rest and sleep are the same thing? Okay, I think my chat is working. I think it's working. Okay. So, um, rest and sleep, they are not the same thing. Okay. They are related, but they serve two very, very different purposes. Like I mentioned earlier, sleep is a biological necessity. It is a body and mind state where you disconnect from your surroundings so that your systems can reset. That's why a lot of times you'll hear people saying, even, dermatologists, for example, they'll say, put your moisturizer on at night before you go to bed. Why? Because there's a regenerative process that happens when you're sleeping. Okay. And that is every time we go to sleep. Sleep affects everything from brain function, memory, to immune strength. And we talked about that in metabolisms. And we know that adults generally need between 7 and 8 hours of sleep, and the quality of sleep matters just as much as the quantity. The deeper stages of sleep are where restoration really happens. So you hear about that deep sleep. I think it's called REM sleep. Okay. Now, I personally have never had a problem really with sleeping. Okay, I can get my sleep on. I've always been able to get my sleep on. My mom loves to tell the story, and she's on the live. about how I was born asleep. They had to spank me. The doctor had to spank me, and I and went back to sleep. Okay, so I've always been able to get my sleep on, and in most cases, I'm able to get to REM sleep very quickly because I do sleep hard and I go to sleep fast. Now, when I was on my toxic job, I noticed there was a difference in my sleep quality. I would sleep, but I would still wake up very tired, which means I did not rest. And we'll talk more about the rest in a minute. Okay. So your body cannot function, like I said earlier, without sleep. If you are deprived long enough, your body will force sleep whether you want it or not. Okay. I don't care how much coffee you drink, how much gum you chew, how many times you slap your face, you know, um, you got to go to sleep. Okay. That alone tells us how serious sleep is. Now, rest, on the other hand, is broader. Rest is any behavior that supports our physical, and our mental well-being, and it helps us to recover from effort. And this is where many of us get tripped up because rest does not um, look the same for everybody. Rest is different. Rest could be, it can be active. It could be a slow walk outside. It could be stretching, gentle moving, reading, right? It could be sitting quiet with your thoughts. And rest can also be passive. There is no right way or wrong way, right? It could be lying down, it could be deep breathing, it could be closing your eyes for 10 minutes. You hear people saying, I'm resting my eyes. I remember growing up, I grew up with my grandmothers, both grandmothers, my maternal and paternal grandmother. I grew up with my great grandmother, my great great grandmother. And sometimes they would be sitting, on the porch, or they may be sitting on the couch and their eyes are closed and their hands are folded. And I would say, Are you asleep? And they'd say, No, I'm just resting my eyes. That little eye rest is very helpful. Okay. Another way that we can rest in a passive way is just letting our nervous center, letting our system settle. And so, how do we do that? Just resting our minds and not allowing the chaos of the day get to us. Like right now, there's a lot of chaos going on in the world. And for some of us, it may be very, very difficult to just rest our nervous system because, our nervous system reacts to the stimuli around us. If it's hyper, like if you go to a sporting event and everybody is hyped up, the music is hyped up, you got the cheerleaders, they're hyping us up. What happens to your nervous system? Your nervous system moves faster, heart start beating, right? So that's an example of how your nervous system responds to the environment around us. So rest is not about doing nothing. It's about what restores you. And only you know what restores you. And if you want, put in the comment, in the chat, what types of things do you do to rest, to restore you, whether it is passive or active? What are some of the things that you do? Maybe put one or two and share those in the chat. And when rest becomes a part of your daily rhythm, something just so beautiful happens. Some of the benefits of making rest a part of your daily habits include your sleep often improves, your body learns that it's safe to shut down. And what that means is, many of us, we have so much that we're doing. We're running from here to there. And especially in this chaotic environment, our body a lot of times is in flight or fight mode. And that is what contributes to the increased production of cortisol. That's how we hold on to weight, and we're not able to sleep because we're hyped up. We're wound tight all the time. And we don't feel like it's safe. Like it doesn't feel safe to just rest. Why? Because we're on edge all the time for different reasons. It could be our work life, it could be our home life, right? It could be situations going on in our businesses if you're a business owner. It could be situations going on in um, our churches if you're, in your religious services. All of that. But it's important that even if we feel the need to be productive, even when we're going through challenging times and challenging situations, it's so important for us to rest, even within those times. Even if, like I said, it's to take, you close your eyes for 10 minutes. Okay. So let me see if we have any comments and I'll move on. All right. And what my mom says, no, rest and recreation, rest and sleep are not the same. That's right. Okay. So I'm going to move on to recreation because this segment is called Rest and Recreation. Rest and recreation, right, are both necessary. So a lot of us think of recreation as going outside when we were a child, for example, for recess, maybe, playing games outside, riding our bikes. Sometimes that's what we see recreation as, right? But what I want to say is recreation is not childish, it's not frivolous, and it's not something that you outgrow, even though in our mind we may think, oh, I'm too grown for this, I'm too old for this. I know, for I like to color. My sister, my late sister, she used to love to color in coloring books. I like to color too. Maybe I got it from her, I don't know, but I've always liked to color. And so some people may say, hey, that's childish. But for me, it's a way to do something that I like to do that calms me down. And I don't really have to think about anything other than making this picture that I'm coloring pretty to me, right? Recreation is how the mind breathes. Our minds need to breathe sometime. Hobbies, creativity, laughter, leisure, like the cruise that I took. Again, I want to thank my entire family for sending me, my mom, my dad, my cousins, my sister. I mean, my sister, not my sister. She's on my mind. My daughter. Okay. I just want to thank you because that was a leisure that I had not experienced before, but I'm going to experience again. These things activate a different mode of thinking that boosts creativity, problem solving, and supports emotional resilience. When I came back from that cruise, now I was sick. Well, I got sick when I got home a little later, okay? But I just felt refreshed. Recreation helps prevent burnout because it reminds the brain that life is not only about output, it's not always about producing productivity. Sometimes it's just about being. In the church, we say it's just hanging on the branch, okay? Hanging on the branch and just letting God just pour into you, just hanging on the branch, right? When rest and recreation are missing, the consequences are real, right? They include burnout. A lot of people are saying they're burnt out. Lots of articles. All you have to do is Google it. You'll see article after article after article after article about people being burnt out. And I mean throughout all of the generations. Okay, the baby boomers, those born from 1946 to 1965, the Gen Xers, that's me, those born from 1960, excuse me, I said the baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. Gen Xers born 1965 to 1980. Millennials, sometimes called the Gen Ys, born between 1981 and depending on what demographics you look at, born through 2000 or 1999, depending on what you look at. All of them are reporting burnout, burnout mostly in the workplace. Okay. Other consequences when we don't respect rest and recreation include exhaustion, weakened immune system. We talked about that earlier, right? Poor poor decision making. Why? Because we can't concentrate. When you are tired and exhausted from not resting properly, okay, and we talked about rest is different than sleeping, right? They're both important, but they both serve two different purposes. When you don't get that, you have a fog. Many people have a fog that can't concentrate. And though people may make decisions, they may not be making the best decisions. They're making poor decisions, right? The other consequence includes anxiety and mood swings. And as for Black women who are often carrying families, careers, communities, expectations, the cost is even higher. And when I say families, many Black people are not only caring for or responsible for immediate family members, they may be responsible for multi-generational levels of the family. You may have a, a grandmother rearing her grandchildren or her great grandchildren. You may have a Gen Xer. They're calling us the sandwich generation because many of them or many of us they're caring for their mom and they have children, you know, or grandchildren. Okay, this is why this season, the Black women rest era, it matters. Taking off that cape is not selfish; it is strategic. Okay. So the question becomes, how do we actually do this in real life? How do we do it? How do you all rest? Maybe share it in the chat if you feel comfortable doing that. See if I have any comments. Okay. All right. So, how do we actually do this in real life? How do we uh, respect rest? How do we respect recreation, sleep? Okay. We make time for what we value. We make time to eat. We make time to work. We make time to care for others. So we need to make time to rest, right? Rest deserves a place in that same category. I was talking to my older daughter. I called her about something. I forgot what it was. And she said, Mommy, you know what? I'm taking a nap. Can I call you back? I don't even think she picked up the phone. She just texted. And I was like, that was so cool. She let me know. Okay. And I respect that. So, how do we implement rest into our lives? Start small. Look for pockets of rest that you can return to consistently, even if it's just maybe sitting outside if you're at work by yourself, maybe with a book or closing your eyes, what have you. Okay. A few minutes in the morning before the day starts, even if it's just to stretch, to look out the window at nature, to breathe, maybe take a short walk during lunch if you're still in the workforce, or even if you're not in the workforce, just take a short walk, you know, a bath or a quiet ritual before bed. And, you know, I've heard, and I'll probably do a video about this, and I will do the video because I need to improve my hygiene as it relates to rest hygiene. They call it rest hygiene. Sometimes they call it sleep hygiene, where you have a ritual before you lie down to rest or sleep. Some people turn off all electronics. They put on some music. Some of them take a soak in a tub. Some people like candles. Some people they spend time writing in their journal. That's a part of their ritual, their before bed ritual process. Okay. I mentioned music already. Music that calms you, playing that. you know, maybe reading a book that brings you joy. I love reading, and I have to admit, I have not been reading books as much as would like to. I used to read all the time. Now I have been listening to books that I've enjoyed. And though I like listening to books, there's nothing like having a book in your hand that you can smell. You know what I mean? You can turn the pages, you can dog ear them, highlight stuff, breathing slowly. That's what we just did before we went through with this segment of the live for a few moments without multitasking. Sometimes we breathe in, but we thinking about our list of stuff we got to do, right? That's mental multitasking, and not really concentrating and being present for the deep breathing that we're doing. Let me check the comments before I move on. Okay, we're good there. And I'm going to, let's see. And consistency matters more than intensity. And when it comes to sleep, there are a few gentle habits that I've read that can help us to protect the quality of the sleep. Try to get a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends. Reduce caffeine later in the day. So if you drink coffee, eat chocolate, because chocolate got a lot of caffeine in it, and I like chocolate. Kind of eat, engage in that earlier in the day and not in the evening when it's around time for you to go to sleep, because that caffeine boost can disrupt your sleep. Create a bedroom environment that feels calm and cool, not cluttered. Limit time before bed, limit screen time before bed and replace it with something that helps your body to wind down. Now, I'm guilty of that. I am so guilty of that. I spoke in another video about how I go to sleep to the computer, and I intellectually absolutely know that this screen light, the light from that emits from the screen, it's not good for you. It's not good for you. So I really, really have to focus on um, establishing a period of time where I need to turn this computer off. Okay. Movement during the day helps too. You got to work on that. Not just close to bedtime. Don't do it close to bedtime if it overstimulates you. So, for example, if you do aerobics, you don't want to do that right before it's time for you to go to bed unless you're a person. And I don't have a problem falling asleep. But if that's something that's going to overstimulate you, you don't want to do that. Okay. And just keep in mind, this is not about perfection. Okay. This is progression. It's about permission to rest without apology, permission to enjoy your life, not just endure it, permission to be well, not just strong. The Black woman rest era, it's not a trend. Okay. It's a correction. Okay. From just overworking ourselves, overburden ourselves, over taking on everybody's everything all the time. It's a return to ourselves, a decision to live in a way that honors our humanity, not just our productivity, right? So if you need a reminder today to let this be it. This is your reminder. This is your reminder that we need to start honoring our own humanity. Okay. You do not need to earn rest. You are worthy, okay, of it right now. Take off the cape. Okay. The world will not fall apart and you will be better for it. So let me see. I was going to try to show you my cape. Where that cape at? I'll get it in a minute. So, sister and brother, and I know there's brothers on the line, because we do have brothers on the line. I want to acknowledge them viewing the live stream or the replay. Maybe you cannot take a cruise right now, okay? Or even a long vacay. Do what you can to get your rest on, to get your staycay on, okay? To get your peace of mind on. Do what you can. So now I'd love to hear from you in the chat. What is one small way you are giving yourself permission to rest in this season? or one way you know you need to take that cape off. If you're joining us live, feel free to type your response in the chat. If you're watching the replay, share your response in the comments. What's one way that you know you need to get your rest on? And if you want to share, what's one way that what one thing you can do to help yourself to really make sure that you get the rest that you need? Okay, the rest, the sleep, and get some recreation. What's one way? I was going to share something with you guys. I'm gonna wait a few minutes for you guys, a few seconds for you guys to put that in the comments. Share something with you that I think would be okay. All right, let me check the comments. All right, let's move to the next segment. Let's move on. I want to get you off here because I got on here late, but I don't want to keep you late. So before we move on to the next segment, I just want to remind you real quick about the create your personal vision and mission playlist that we have. I'll link it in the description. It combines a transformative 2-day workshop and step-by-step 5-day challenge to guide you in creating your personal vision. These things can help you rest. And it helps you to create those statements that align with your life goals. There is a section in there that has a place for recreation, so I'm talking about the workbook, which you don't have to get, but the challenge, it is on my YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the description. The playlist also includes 2 work with me personal vision and mission live sessions where we work together to complete additional goals. It also includes 2 how to prepare videos, as well as a 7-day reflection on your personal vision and mission statement video. Now, this playlist equates to over 10 hours of content. Okay. Now, it's not too late for defining your future with intention and build the language that truly reflects you. The Create Your Personal Vision and Mission playlist will be linked in the description box, and it is my gift to you. Okay. Having said that, you guys, I need to review my own personal goals, okay, that I established during the challenge. So I may conduct a few additional work with me, personal vision and mission live sessions. And what we do is we use the Pomodoro method where we work for 20 minutes and we are off for 5, or it might be we work for 25 minutes, something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, we work for 90 minutes, 25 on, 5 break, 25 on, 5 break, and we do it live. We work on whatever we want to related to our personal vision, mission, goals, and our statement. So if you want me to do some additional sessions, type "do it" in the chat if you're joining us live, or in the comments if you are watching the replay. Just type "do it" and I will see those. And if I have enough responses, I will do a few more sessions. Okay. Next, I want to, let me just check this chat pot real quick. Hey, so we have, hi, sister. We have Sister Harriet in the chat. This is Kamani Norrington Sands from Lifting as We Climb Consulting Services. And she is in the chat. That's her channel. And today is her birthday. So if you could just say happy birthday to Kamani in the chat, that would be really, really great. Her birthday is today. Happy birthday. And she decided to pop in here and spend a few minutes with us. So thank you so much. Happy birthday. Let me see if I could put something. Let me put a happy birthday in the chat. Happy birthday. Let me see. Birthday. Put a do happy birthday. You guys, my birthday was January 28th. Marissa Price, another content creator, we also call her Harriet. Her birthday was the 29th, the day after mine. In fact, I did a video with her. So make sure you guys go in there and look at that video. It's I forgot the title. I get the title to it in a minute. But yeah, so my two of my favorite people birthday. Oh, I can't put it in there. I don't know why it won't let me do. Well, I'm gonna put it in there like that. I couldn't do the happy birthday. Yay! She said it's her birthday. So to send her a message individually, it'll show up here. You can just put at and then L will lifting as we climb will show up. Put at the at sign and L. All right, let's move on to the next session. Happy birthday. I was calling you. I was hoping you'd be on the channel, but that's okay. We'll get together. So next I want to move on to Black history. Okay. And I'm going to say something and I'm going to make myself real clear. You know how I do. I'm going to get a little serious here. So as most of you know, February is recognized as Black History Month. Now, I had planned to have a bunch of videos out, for Black History Month. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that. When I got home from our cruise, I've been sick for like almost a week. I'm literally just recovering from this, from the cruise, from getting sick. I had planned to be off just to rest, but then I got sick. So anyway, what I want to say is it is extremely important that we as a community recognize our unique and valuable history. We can do this by not only learning, but teaching our own history. I don't believe in relying on other people to teach our history. Okay. We can teach our own history to our family, to our friends and community. And I'm getting a little strong about this, and I'm saying all this because I keep hearing people, many of whom look like us, saying that Blacks, specifically Black Americans or African Americans, do not have a culture. Okay. Now you guys know, my stuff don't always flow and go together, but I want to say this. Some go as far as saying we do not have a history and that we don't know where we do not know where we come from. I've even heard some say that we are lazy and we did not contribute anything to American society. And again, hear me, I'm saying some. I'm not even saying most, but I'm saying some. So I want to make something crystal clear. Blacks, Black Americans, African Americans, foundational Black Americans, or FBAs, and or ADOs, American descendants of slaves, absolutely have a unique history, our own culture, and we've made substantial, both documented and overlooked contributions to the formation of this place called the United States of America. That said, acknowledging and celebrating Black History Month is our opportunity to explore and share our established legacy, okay, of not only surviving but thriving in the face of unimaginable human-made circumstances. Okay? 100 years ago, Dr. Carter Goodwin Woodson, an American historian, author, and journalist known as the father of Black history, launched the celebration of Negro History Week, the precursor to what we now know as Black History Month in February 1926, to celebrate and promote African American history. Okay. So some people say, why was it made in February? It was made in February. And again, it started off as a week because that was Abraham Lincoln's birthday is in February and Frederick Douglass' birthday is in February. And they were considered, you know, champions of Black history. So it was a way to honor them. Born in 1875, the son of formerly enslaved, kidnapped, and trafficked human beings, he founded, Dr. Woodson, the Journal of Negro History in 1916 and the Associated Publishers in 1921. And he did this to ensure that African American, at the time known as Negro history, was documented and published. Okay. He aimed to educate the public and schools on overlooked contributions of Black people in American society. And this is American as a whole. He worked particularly, his work, particularly his 1933 book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Yes, he's the author of that book. And I believe, what's her name? She was one of my favorite singers. She had a book called The Miseducation of Somebody. Somebody will put it in the comments. Continues to influence decisions on education and racial history. Dr. Woodson, despite having his high school education, despite starting his high school education at the age of 20, earned a PhD in history from Harvard University in 1912, becoming the second African American to do so. Does anybody want to guess who the first African American was to earn a PhD from Harvard? The person earned their PhD in 1895. Anybody want to guess who that is? You can put it in the comments. Let me see if anybody want to guess. Okay. Hold on. Oh goodness, I got a whole bunch of stuff here. Oh, okay. So people are wishing you happy birthday, Kumani. A beautiful discussion. Thank you. Another great live. Have to go. Okay, Ike. Thank you. Yeah, he said happy birthday. Happy birthday. Preach on this topic. That is red state, blue state. Okay. My mom, Kumani, sends you a birthday cake. That's right. Thank you, Red State. Lauren Hill. Lauren Hill made a movie. I mean, not a movie, a thing. And guess who got it? I knew she would get it. I should have told her she can't guess. So the first Black person to earn a PhD from Harvard University in 1895, W.E.B. Du Bois. And I want to point this out because I'm sick of people saying that Black people aren't educated and Black people are lazy. This is getting on my nerves. Okay. So I want to say, I want to set the record straight on some stuff. I want to set the record straight. And so, and you may say, Colette, what is happening? What made you say all this? Because all the stuff I'm seeing, and I'm not going to go too deep into it right now, but I will, I will talk about some things. Okay. So what is my point? Whether we refers to ourselves as Black Americans, which the first time I heard the term as Black Americans is when I was married to a West African. Before that, I never heard us referring to ourselves as that. In fact, this is some new stuff to me. African American, FBA, adios. Note, my birth certificate says Negro. Understand that you have a strong history. You have a culture to be proud of. And the contributions of your ancestors, whether of recent or of old, so that's recent ancestors or of old, not only shaped the success of the United States, but laid the foundation and forged a blueprint for others to reap the benefits of their contributions, whether they are acknowledged or not. And thus it is our responsibility to ensure that those who have benefited from our culture's unpaid labor and overlooked contributions, put some respect on our ancestors' name, period. Okay? So um we can honor our ancestors collectively. We can honor their collective legacies by educating ourselves about and teaching our own history. I encourage you to take some time to view and share my playlist titled Teach Our Own History. Okay. And that playlist, like I said, I have some videos that I am going to be uploading within the next few days or so. They will be forthcoming. But in the meantime, I'll link the playlist in description. I know I did some stuff on Black history. Kamani, I believe, did some a few years ago, even last year. The last thing I'm going to talk about before I close out is delineation. I should have put that in the title. I don't know if I did. But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to make myself very clear. Us delineating, it doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. If you are able to go to another country without having to apply for citizenship, meaning you have a lineage somewhere else, the conversation about us delineating has nothing to do with you. You can view from the sidelines, but this conversation is not for you and it doesn't include you. Okay. So people need to understand that, and I'm going to talk about it. Okay. I'm going to talk about this. Let me just do something. I'm going to talk about it because I feel like too many people who are not in um, our community, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Not that they're not related to us. Yes, all these people are related to us. But if the stuff go down and you need to get out of this country tomorrow and you can use your passport or go back somewhere else, this conversation about delineation and what we call ourselves, it didn't have anything to do with you. So I want to give you, before we close out, I want to give you a brief history about the different things that Black Americans have been called. Okay. Can I do that for a second? So throughout history, people of African descent here in the United States, I'm not talking about the Caribbean, I'm not talking about any of these other places. I mean, right here, we've been called different things. Okay. Most of the things that we were called, we didn't decide on those distinctions, names, labels. We didn't decide. Okay. For a while, we were called colored. I've mentioned in prior videos that I am working on family trees for both sides of my family. Okay. We were called colored from the late 19th century to the earliest 20th century. We were called Negro. Okay. From the mid 20th century. In fact, I have my birth certificate here. I was born in 66. Look what's on my birth certificate. Negro. Okay. Negro. That's what's on my birth certificate. I meant to cover my last name, but it's okay. I don't care. Um, so we've been called different things. Okay. We didn't call ourselves Negro, I don't think. And if we did, I don't know. Somebody can correct me. Okay. Then we were called Black from the 1960s to the 1970s. We didn't say Black American. We said Black. Okay. That's what we said. We said Black. It wasn't until I was in high school in the 1980s that we started calling ourselves African American. And that was because Jesse Jackson introduced that after he visited Africa. Okay. He wanted to kind of tie us to a place. Okay. He wanted us to have a heritage or have our heritage connected to a land because Black is not connected to a land. Made sense, right? But now there's been discussions to call ourselves something else. Some people say FBA, Foundational Black Americans. I'm okay with that. I don't care. Long as we choose. If I'm choosing, I'm okay with it. But we get to choose. And so don't get hung up on these. And some people say ADOS, African descendants of slaves. The point I'm making is this is a inside discussion. I showed you my birth certificate. It says Negro. Okay. I just turned 60, born in 66. That wasn't too long ago. In fact, I'll tell you a joke. My youngest daughter looked at my birth certificate and she said, "Oh, mommy, you are Black history." She got smart mouth, but that's okay. Okay. So let's see. Let me look at the comments. You can put your thoughts in here, keep them clean, keep them cute. But again, I just want to say again, delineation is an inside conversation between people who cannot use a passport to go back to another place. Okay, we don't have that. People who were born here, and I mean generations back, our passport is U.S. United States. That conversation is for us to have. That decision is for us to make. So, respectfully, many of you can keep your opinions to yourself. It's not about being divisive. It's about making a decision about how we want to be referenced. And we may pick something and change it in 30 years. Many of the people who are making these comments, they live in lands or countries that they did not name. Countries that were named by white people, colonialists, imperialists. Okay, let's just keep it 100. You did not name those countries. You did not name those lands, and they weren't called that before these folks gave it a name. And you're saying, I'm a so and so, and I'm a so and so. Well, you weren't all that before your name of your country was determined by someone else. Well, we're saying as African Americans, we are naming or classifying ourselves what we want to be classified or identified as. And no one should have anything to say about it outside of this distinct group of people, this lineage of people. Okay. All right. So I know that was a little rough, but I wanted to make sure I got that down. Don't mean we don't love our distant cousins. Don't mean we don't love our ancestral lands. Don't mean we're not acknowledging that we came from Africa. We know where we came from. The whole world came from Africa, right? Not trying to be divisive, but we want to make sure that our culture is recognized and acknowledged as being unique. Okay? We're not saying it's better, and we definitely not saying it's worse, and we're going to stop people who think they saying that it's worse. We're going to stop that. And one way we do that is by teaching our history. So we didn't went from, let's see, we didn't did some stuff on rest and relaxation. Please review that. If you missed the beginning, I want to thank everybody for being here. If you have a comment, go ahead and make it. Otherwise, I'll sign out in a few minutes. Again, I want to say happy birthday to Sister Harriet. Sister Harriet is Dr. Kamani Norrington Sands. She is a licensed clinical psychologist. Her channel is Lifting as We Climb, Consulting Services. I encourage you to look at a video that I did with Marissa Price. Actually, it's a live. It's called Two Black Women, Two Generations, One Honest Conversation. That was an amazing video. It was an intergenerational video. I am a Gen X. She is a Gen Y, also known as a millennial. So that conversation was fire. And we're going to do a follow-up, and hopefully we'll get a conversation like that going with Kamani. So with that, I'm going to say good night, and you are welcome, sis. Oh, thank you. Dr. Kamani put the link to that YouTube live in the video, in the chat. So if you want to click on that, you can go right to that discussion. It was fire. We had so much fun. All right. Kamani, again, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. You guys, we just had my birthday party last Friday. This past Friday, we had a good old fish fry and we had fun. I might post some videos to YouTube, but I don't know. We'll see. All right. Love you guys. Talk soon. Bye.